Hello and welcome to today's episode of Flight of Freedom. I am so delighted to say that I have a lovely guest here today, Tina Hoang, who is here to talk about her experiences with people pleasing. She is a disabled recovering people pleaser, lifetime traveller, and podcaster. Tina strives to ensure women have the space to choose themselves and share their courageous stories, whether it is changing how you are perceived within a family dynamic, leaving a comfortable 9 to 5, or advocating for yourself when a stranger is being rude. She believes women of colour are allowed to take the first step and don't need permission. After someone told her that her passivity was unattractive, she took it and decided to become assertive and courageous as she can ever be. With a background in career counselling, Tina also understands the hardship of career changes and the components of how it can involve family and friends. She knows that even when we are scared of making that first step, we just need to say fuck it and do it anyway, to make that choice despite the paralysing and roaring feeling growing within them. She also loves to travel, read, and be present with nature. Her favourite national park so far is Glacier National Park. Hello, Tina, and welcome to my podcast.
Hi, Julia. Thank you for having me.
Oh, you are so welcome. So, I start with 5 or so quick fire questions. Are you good for that?
Yes, definitely.
Okay, so first one, what is your favorite sound in the world?
I think would be the wind next to the mountains. There's something
Oh,
different about that, just being next to the mountains, because mountains is my favorite visual nature to look at. And the wind around the mountain, including that, makes me feel calm and at peace. And so a combination of it, of the sound, I like where I am. So
awesome. That sounds really good. Um, what's the worst job you've ever done?
I think my worst job ever done would be my 9 to 5. And it's more of the work. I realized that it wasn't my calling. It wasn't my passion that I wanted towards to. It was my first 9 to 5, and just like the people that I worked with were amazing and they're wonderful. And at the same, but then with the work that I had to do, it didn't spark any joy or happiness of doing it. And so I just feel depleted doing the work that I did, even though, yeah. So that was like the worst job I did, despite the wonderful people that I worked with.
I had a little stint at chambermaiding in a hotel when I was a teenager, and that was awful. It was horrendous. I was so shocked at the things people do in their hotel rooms. Honestly, the stories a hotel room could tell. What's your favorite dessert?
You had to ask me that question. I have so many. I have a lot to do. But if I were to count like one, like right now that I'm craving, it's not necessarily my favorite, but is like cake.
Okay.
Especially I love Asian cakes because it's so spongy. It's so spongy, and then you eat it with the frosting. I should stop myself because I want to keep going. I'm gonna get hungry. I'm just like, but yes, like Asian sponge cake with like, especially because it's so spongy, that it's so like soft and light, and that's like one of my favorite desserts. One of my favorite desserts to eat.
Oh, nice. Um, if you could be a member of any fictional family, what family would you choose to be a member of?
From a book.
Book or the telly,
Hmm.
film, whatever.
Well, I just finished a fictional book, a young adult fictional book, and it's called the Grisha verse series. So it's not really a family, but it's a series of fantasy of people fighting to make sure that Grishas or Grishas. I don't know how to pronounce it, but that they are saved. So I want to be in their family to kind of save the world and make sure that they're not killing these innocent people who are just living their life with their own inner powers, that they're not dangerous, they're not, dangerous or like hurtful, like they're out to kill you or whatever. But I want to be within that family to like save everyone else. And
Nice.
there's just so many like I just finished the book yesterday and I love it and I want to be part of it. I was attached to those characters. Yeah. So
And if you could give a really important piece of advice to the world right now, what
yeah.
would it be?
I would just say, fuck it. Do it anyways.
Awesome. I love that. That's brilliant.
Yeah.
So, you've overcome so much in your life. Can you tell us a little bit about your journey and how you used to be and what created or brought about the change for you to stop being a people pleaser?
Yeah. So like growing up, I've always been a people pleaser. I understand now that everyone is a people pleaser to a certain extent.
Yes,
But then
that's true.
for me, it's overextending my needs, overextending what I want, what I desire, and put everything that I really want in the back burner. So so going back a little bit, people pleasing is really having the urgency to please other people in extent of your own needs and your desires. And so it's only been 3 years since I finally decided that in 2019. So before 2019, I always asked people growing up, I asked them the first question, oh, what do you guys want to do? What do you want to eat? Where do you want to go? I don't even say I want to go, even if I was a teenager, oh, I want to go to the park or I want to go to the mall. I don't even say what I want first. I ask them and then we go along with that. And I always struggle. I knew I was struggling with that because, well, first, like I have low self-confidence and low
Mhm.
self-esteem. So even to this day now, like even though I'm working on it and it's been so much better then, but just it was just a lot to just make feeling that I'm responsible for everyone's feelings, responsible if someone did something wrong or they're mistaken, that it's my responsibility to make it better, my responsibility to make them feel better. If they're angry at a coworker and they told me the story, I feel responsible, like solely responsible to make sure that they're not angry anymore. Even though it's at the coworker and not me, it's like, oh, okay, I need to do something about it so they can be happy, it can be joy. It's like, okay, what about me though? Like, am I allowed to do this? Am I allowed to be happy? Back then I didn't feel it. I didn't feel that you know, I didn't feel that I was important. I didn't feel like I mattered. And so that was like the whole gist of like my whole life with friends, with family, loved ones, and struggling it within myself too. And so like oh, go ahead.
Can I just ask, did you have an awareness then of what you were doing?
I'm sorry.
Did you
Like when
have
I
an awareness of what you were doing? Were you aware that you were putting your own needs and desires last?
No, not at all. Not at all until like I knew it was in the back of my mind, but I think it wasn't in the forefront
Mm-hmm.
of, and it didn't, and I believe it's because also I went to grad school. So for grad school, they helped me put in the forefront of self-awareness. So it helped me understand, okay, this is where it's going. So I never had the awareness of like what I was doing and that I was doing it. So like within what you said within my biography is someone had to tell me that my
Yeah.
passivity was unattractive, and someone had to tell me that to put it in the forefront. Okay, Tina, this is why it's not working. This is a
How did
person
you
that really
feel? Sorry, how did
I
you feel when you were told that? I bet that felt really hard
oh
to hear.
I was shut down. I was feeling shocked, angry, raging, sadness, confusion. There's so many mixed feelings within that. in that moment, I cried a lot just to relieve all the emotions out, because I didn't know what to do. Like, there was someone I care about and they said this to me and I don't know what to do next. And I and that this is the pivotal point of where like the change started to happen. The decision for me to be okay, there are two decisions I can take from this statement that my passivity is unattractive. The first one is, okay, yeah, I am passive, and I agree it is unattractive, but this is me, this is where I am. I will continue being this because this, if like internally, I can say this is why I exist. This is why I am in this world, to only exist for other people, to make sure that I cater to other people and not myself. That was one decision that I could have taken and just ran with it. Or the other decision is to say, no, I don't want to be this anymore. I don't want to be passive. I don't want to be run over and be a pushover and just leave myself in the back burner and just feel sad. And I think one of the thoughts that came through in my mind is, I think I watched it on a video, someone asking, what would be your first thought that it'll come to mind when you're on your deathbed? And when I remember seeing that on a video, I was like, no, 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 I don't want I don't want to do that. Like, because I know already in my mind, if I continue that first path, the first thing I was probably thinking of was like, what happened to my life?
Mm-hmm. You
You
lived it
know?
for others.
Yeah. And so I made the courageous decision to like say no. No, I don't want this. And then I worked damn hard to make sure that I get out of it. I mean, of course, like if it's ingrained, it's ingrained in you. So I still have my moments. But looking back, I can say now, when I couldn't say then, that I am proud of myself right now. I'm
Oh.
proud of where I am. I'm proud of the path that I'm going in and the striving that I'm going towards. I'm proud. And I remember the first time, oh, Julia, the first time it came, I remember New Year's Eve. I decided to go by myself. You know, that we usually tend to, at least in the US, we tend to celebrate New Year's with friends and family. I decided to
Mm-hmm.
go by myself because that was the first decision. And then when I was waiting for the ball to drop, the first thing I said to myself was, I am proud of you. I'm so proud of you, Tina. And you're so beautiful, you're so amazing. And etc. And in those moments, I cried because even though I said it out loud, my body was uh, not necessarily like I think it was like cringy or convulsing inside. I'm like, I don't believe that. No, you're wrong. This is not me. I'm not proud of myself. What are you saying? You're wrong. No, no, no. Don't say that. That's not true at all. I'm not proud of myself at all. What did I even do? No.
Mm.
So it's
Inner critic, so tough.
Oh, it is very, very, and it's also very stubborn too. So it's I I feel right now, even talking about this feels so much weight in the sense of how much I've gone through from then until now, and feeling even right now, I feel that's, I guess, like sadness in a sense of, because I'm the type of person that's hard to let go a lot of things, and so my inner voice, my inner child is still looking back. But it's like I miss you. Like it wants to go back. Like it wants to go back to where it was because it was comfortable then. Because your inner child is pretty much your child, as a child, that what it grew up with. And yeah, I was just feeling very just overall sad. And but then I know that I am in a better place now because I don't really care as much of what people think of me. People who are judgy with me, I disassociate myself with that from that. And I don't know why, but like I'm slightly tearing. I feel like,
Oh, bless you. It's an
yeah,
emotional journey, though, isn't it? It's a really emotional journey. And you're traveling to find the way to your authentic self
yeah,
and stop putting everybody else in your way. And yes, serving people is an incredibly fulfilling thing to do. I do it within my coaching every day. And it's amazing. It fills me up. It is so fulfilling. However, I also put myself first many, many times, and I make sure that I have what I need and what I want to make me happy. Because if I'm not, then I'm not actually going to be able to serve other people well anyway.
yeah.
So, going back to when you were told quite traumatically that your passive, no, I can't even say it was unattractive. Passivity, is that right? It sounds wrong.
Passive,
Passivity.
passivity.
Passivity. Oh,
Yeah,
just sounds strange. When you were told that that was unattractive and you decided, okay, enough's enough, I actually agree with what you're saying, even though it really fucking hurts that you've said it.
yes,
Um, and you decided, right, this is time for the authentic Tina, the real Tina, to actually start living her life.
yeah.
How? What was the first steps? What did this scared and slightly broken Tina do to start that journey?
Well, I cried a lot. I
Yeah,
screamed. I pretty much so the first thing was just let my emotions out first. That's what I did to just
amazing. They're there to
really
be
like,
felt.
yeah, it need to be felt, feel like this is real, this is genuine, like this person, even so this was like the end of the relationship too. So the person I cared for was someone I was with. And so that was like the end of it. It was the end of it. And so, and that's I value I feel good that it ended that way because it needed to end it that way in order for me to move forward. And so like yeah, I just sat with it. I sat with I was feeling and really in it, really, really in it. And then afterwards I decided, okay, let's journal every day. Let's journal
Amazing.
and like write, journal how I was feeling. And if I were to look back right now in my journals, I mean, I haven't looked at it yet, but I know if I were to look back, it would be so heartbreaking because I know how I write and I know how in tune with my emotions are. And sometimes, yeah, like just a lot of journaling and I could feel the glow up, the glow that was coming from it and learning to be more self-aware, being able to say no. And so after journaling, when I finally had the courage to say, okay, like being aware of like what's going on, another first thing that I had to do was get to the root of it. Like I can't just
Mhm.
like I can't just go to the branches of a tree and cut those off. I had to go to the root of the tree of like where did my people pleasing came from? Like
Yeah.
where, like how did it started? Like where and who or maybe what? And and of course my parents, that's and so the first thing I did, especially my mom, because my mom was closest to me, I when she asked me something, I just asked me something to do or pretty much what to do. And I had to have the courage to say no.
Wow.
And
How did she react?
and she was shocked. She didn't
I'll
know.
bet
She was
she
definitely
was.
shocked. Yeah, she was shocked, confused, not knowing what to do. And it didn't it didn't end well because on her end she's used to how I am.
Yes.
And in the fact that I've becoming more in tune with myself, she didn't know how to navigate that. And even to this day too, it's still a struggle with my mom. But overall, she's coming around and understanding that this is where I am, this is who I'm becoming, and she's appreciating it, just having more time with herself. But oh, it didn't turn out well. But I knew if I kept saying no to my mom, and nicely, not like mean or blunt, like, no, mom, no, I'm not gonna do it, no. But more of like, no, I appreciate it, thank you. Or even telling her, please don't do this because I don't like it, or please don't do that, it hurts my feelings. So even saying that, and I knew that if I start with her, that's where my journey starts.
Yes.
Because that is where it came from. And from there, then I can trickle on like who else around me and enable that behavior too. And not to say like it's their fault, but more so like I allowed it and they took it. And so
Yeah.
so if I do the opposite and show it to them, like, hey, this is not saying it to them, but just saying like, no, thank you, but no, thank you, I'm good. And they're like, okay, sounds good. Of course, like in their mind, it's like, oh, this is new, but okay, I'll adjust. And so like now, like, so my parents and then my friends, and then eventually it'll come easier. But I mean, it's not like every day that it's easy for me. It's still hard when my parents or my friends ask me to do something. I forget that I can say no, or I forget that I have plans on that certain day or time that can say, I would like to go, but I can't. Can we go here instead? And not completely just obliterate my plans and then just do what they want, and so like sticking, like pretty much having boundaries for myself, having boundaries, setting that boundary that I can do this and be okay with it, not feeling guilty at all, feeling that I'm okay, like no one's gonna hate me, no one's gonna not love me if I set these boundaries, because what I want to do is for myself and not for others.
Yeah, on that point, that nobody's gonna hate you for it. I struggled with people pleasing, and I think it was all part of the eating disorder and the just everything to do with it. And people pleasing was a huge part of it, and putting other people first and not believing my feelings or thoughts or needs were valid or worthy.
Yeah.
And when I went into recovery and started to put some boundaries in place, and that was such a scary thing to do, and I just thought everybody was going to hate me.
Yeah.
And I have been so amazingly surprised at how many people are just like, oh, okay, and they're fine with it. And I'm like expecting this giant explosion because I've said no when I've always said yes.
Yeah.
And nothing happens. I'm like, oh wow. Why did I never do this before?
Yeah.
Obviously, there are times particularly with people like parents, that it is a lot more tricky, and you do have to tread carefully and try and be as gentle as possible while still having your boundaries and making sure that you're doing what's right for you.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to say about how scary it was and how much I built it up in my mind to be this huge thing, that to actually say no when somebody wanted me to do something and they were going to hate me, and the whole build up and the whole fear was a million times worse than actually doing it, because it was almost an anticlimax. Nothing happened.
So like, I'm curious for you too, like what was your first for like at least with your eating disorder recovery, like what was your first step in regards to like within, like what was your first step, or what did you first do in order to recover as
From
well?
the eating disorder?
Yeah.
Oh, I hit rock bottom. I properly hit rock bottom. And yeah, so it was a bit do or die for me. And I chose do. Yeah, so but so right, where are you now with your people pleasing, and are you feeling more fulfilled and freer in your life?
Yes, I definitely do. It's still like on, and so yes, I do fulfill now. And at the same time, I know I have so much more improvement, because if there's like new people coming in my life, it's like to square one. Like it's like, oh yeah, this is cool. Like they can just hang out. Let's go do this. Let's do that. And whatever they want, okay, let's do this. So like, I still have to be mindful.
So do you think it's easier now? Do you think you don't have to be quite as mindful as you did at the beginning? Is it more natural now? Although obviously we do always have to be mindful, but
Yeah.
is it less of a challenge now?
No.
No.
Actually, I guess like earlier in your question when you were just saying it, first thought came in was yes. But I think as more you finished the question and I sat with that listening to you, my body was like, no, it's not. It's a little easier, but it's pretty much still hurt. Like it's still hard. It's still difficult because I have to remember all the time. Remember that, because it just comes so naturally to just like, yeah, don't even have to question anything. Someone asked me, it's like, hey, can I borrow your phone for a moment? Or like, can I borrow a piece of paper? Can I borrow your cup, your book, whatever? And I don't even question it. Or not even question it, but it's like, am I reading a book right now that you want to borrow? Like I'm reading a book, can't borrow my book right now because I'm reading it. Or, just I have to remind myself every day, be mindful of it. And so it is yeah, it's kind of confusing, like, so yes and a no, because there are moments where it is easier, and there are moments like, especially if someone who I really do truly and deeply love, it goes all out in the window, like out the window, because all I want is for them to be happy. Like, who cares? Like, I just want them to be happy, and so, and that's where thankfully when I told them, like the people in my life who I deeply care about, I told them how I am, they are willing to help me, like remind me, like, Tina, you don't have to people please me right now. You don't have to please me right now.
So
Like,
that's
no,
a
you
really important point, that because you've identified it as a vulnerability within yourself, that you have reached out and you've asked for help, and that's been really beneficial to you.
yes, it is. Because yeah, it's very beneficial and helpful in every way that I can. Because if I were to make a decision with a friend and we want to go to a coffee shop or to a restaurant, certain ones, and then I just said what I said, where I want to go, and then they said, and I asked them, where do you want to go? And then they said, oh, okay, I want to go to this coffee shop, and I'm just like, okay, don't even ask. I was like, oh, but I really like this one. And I was like, are you sure? Like, so like more a conversation versus like an argument or bickering. But and then sometimes they would bring in, it's like, you don't have to please me. You can go to that restaurant versus this coffee shop. It's totally okay. You know? And yeah, it's a process, because even now like even through journaling, and they're just like also like on top of the people pleasing is the internal work. because there's like this inner voice in my mind. Like I mentioned in the very beginning, it's like the inner voice that just doesn't want to think. So like now I'm in that limbo of my people pleasing side, my inner child, and then my current self.
Mm-hmm.
The current self of, if someone asked me to do something, and then the inner child said, okay, let's do this. But then the other side's like, wait, hold on. You can think about this. You can think and decide for yourself. And I teeter-totter from that all the time. And sometimes I get really anxious within myself because I'm scared. Like I said, I'm scared and terrified that if I make this decision for myself, they won't want to be with me anymore. They don't want to be my friend. They don't want to be my loved one. They don't want to be my life. I just go to I think black and white. I like think black and white. I'm like, oh, they're gonna hate me. Like I said earlier, they're not gonna love me anymore. They're gonna judge me. They're gonna tell everyone that I'm a horrible person, and just all this inner critic in my
Mm-hmm.
mind. And
So all those voices and those fears, when you have set boundaries, have any of them ever actually come true?
no, but in that country, but my inner child is a stubborn, like so stubborn. She will fight back at me, and I'm like, that's not true. That's not true. Why you do that? Everyone's gonna like, so like, even though it's not true, that voice is yelling at me and just being very stubborn and trying to fight and fight. And that's how it just constantly fights. So I have to fight her back. I just like, no, sit your ass down. Sit. I don't want to hear it. I know what I created this boundary because I want it for myself. It's healthy for me. So sit down. Okay. I don't need this. I understand you're probably scared and afraid. And so I do give her compassion too. So yes, I do tell her to sit down, but it only comes when she doesn't want to listen anymore. So
Yeah.
I give her the compassion first, and then afterwards, then I tell her like, you're not listening to me. You don't want to listen. So let's just sit down and watch me, please. Okay.
Good for you. That's amazing.
Yeah.
So was this the reason behind you starting your podcast, to show people that
Yes.
scary things can lead to greatness?
Yeah. And that's why I'm just like, I get scared all the time, constantly, every time, whatever decision I made. So this is where, yeah, like that is why I started my podcast, to share your courageous story, to share what you need to do. And if you're scared, share that story anyways. Like if you haven't done it, like something that you've been wanting to do for so long and you're scared to do it, share that story, because someone will support it and like root for you all the way. And like, yeah, go, you got this, I got it, you got this, I'm here for you, I'm here with you. And so yeah, it's empowering and I want that for everyone, to just share their story, to share what they've been through, what got them there. And if there's something else, share that, like share what you're scared of. Because once you share your story, that what you're scared of, you can say, okay, never mind, fuck it, I'm gonna do it anyways. I'm scared, but I'm gonna do it anyways, and just be to it. And I know that people will be here to support me. And if there are people who don't, okay, acknowledge them and just let them be. Like you don't have to let them.
We can't be liked by everybody, and we can't like everybody. And that's one of the beauties of being human, isn't it? That we're all so very, very different.
Yes. And that's what's like what you mentioned just now. Like like throughout my whole life, I felt that I had to be liked by everyone. I had to be liked, every single one. And then one of the pivotal moment of like, do I even like everyone? And then I realized there are some people I do not like.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, okay. I don't have to be liked by everyone. And that's when it
No,
changed. Another part of me changed. And yeah, it's just I feel so riled up now. It's like, yeah, like I don't have to be liked by everyone. I can just
you
do it.
don't. It's impossible to be liked by everybody because everybody is so very different. Say people's tastes. I mean, millions, billions of people love chocolate. Billions and billions of people love chocolate. And you could say, why don't you like chocolate? That's weird. Which, okay, to be fair, it is a little, but there are people in this world that don't like chocolate.
I know.
See, it's a little weird, but you are one of those very strange people that don't like chocolate. But that doesn't mean that you can't be near chocolate or that chocolate's wrong. It just means it's not to your taste. And that's the same with people, isn't it? Because we are all so very different. And that's why the human race is just so magnificent.
Mm-hmm.
Because if we
Yeah.
were all the same and we all thought the same and we all liked the same,
Oh,
it
yeah.
would it would be horrible, wouldn't it, really?
It would really be, it would be boring,
It would.
and just it would be kind of plain, and just there's no color into that, and there's no vibrancy, and there's no, I live for color, and even though I'm wearing gray, it's fine. But like personality wise, like I live for color, and just showing so much emotion, so much like variety in what you're going through, your hobbies, your interests, everything. It's, yeah, we live for color, and we should live for color versus
We
just being
should,
plain.
and all different shapes and sizes and colors and languages and everything. It just makes the world an incredible place. And
Mhm.
I think the only thing I would like everybody to be that's, I suppose it's sort of the same, not the same. I would just like everybody to be able to be their authentic selves.
Yeah, it's really, yeah, it's the dream that I want everyone to get to.
Yeah.
Even make it happen, to make it happen, because even as I'm also like right now, even talking with you, I feel again, like earlier, I remember in the very beginning of the conversation, I felt feeling heavy because we were talking about it deeply. But now, as we're getting further into it, I feel a sense of like lightness. I feel free. I feel good that where I am now, because I was able to get out of that shackle. I was able to get out of my chains and let myself be free. And like, for even your name, like Fly to Freedom, like that is where like I'm finally feeling I'm flying to my own freedom, and being able to choose this new world that I never knew was there. It was just on over the other side that I was scared to go over, like over a mountain.
So even though you still have to work at it, and even though it's still hard, and even though you still have to be mindful every day, you wouldn't change anything about this journey. You still think that where you are now is so much better than where you were.
Hell yeah, I am. Like, I said, hell yeah, because I mean, I wouldn't change it for the world of the journey. Like, yeah, I wouldn't change it because I worked so hard to get here. And looking back, and everyone and anything that I came across to, it made me where I am now. And then that I'm still improving, still growing, and moments of relapsing, like coming back to where, like, oh, I forgot. I can choose again. I'm allowed, I'm giving myself permission to
Yeah.
do something for myself. I'm allowed to change my mind. I'm allowed to say no. I'm allowed to hurt, not intentionally, but I'm allowed to look out for
Yeah.
myself, and
And
not,
you're allowed to struggle and you're allowed to find things hard. And then you're allowed to learn from those hard things and you're allowed to grow from them.
I'm allowed to even make mistakes. And
Absolutely.
I grew up not feeling I'm allowed to do that. Everything has to be perfect. And so when I finally came to that realization, that even more talking about you, it's I'm allowed to do anything.
Brilliant.
I don't have to ask someone else to make that decision for me
No.
or get approval from someone else. I can make that decision for me. And that comes down with confidence, of course. And so, yeah, it's hitting me right now, even talking with you. It's like, it's hitting me. Because, like, it's like we talked this whole conversation. It's not a one and done. And
Oh
so,
no, it's never one and done, is it?
never one
No,
and done.
it's a process, it's a journey. And to be honest, my own journey has been so huge and it hasn't finished. It's never going to finish. And there's just a whole life ahead of me of learning and growing and developing and being more me every single day. And I just love the fact that you now have the freedom and you've given yourself the permission to be you.
Yeah, I definitely did. I definitely did. And
That's so
so
amazing. Is there anything else you'd like to share with our listeners before we wrap up for today?
I would like to give just like one takeaway, really. It's no matter how much I guess pullback or that rain, like wanting to go back to where you were, like that feeling is like, oh, this is where I am. Know that the on the other side is so much better, like no doubt. That's where it is. Like just do it. No
Yeah.
matter what negative feeling you have, just do it anyways. Because feelings can coexist. Feelings can coexist and just do it anyways because your heart wants it. Your heart, your soul, your heart, whatever it is, wants it and go for it. And I did that and I feel so happy right now. I feel
Oh,
so
so lovely. And
yeah.
thank you so, so much for sharing your story with us and spreading the message that really from a place of fear comes the true growth, and being yourself is
Yeah.
all you were ever meant to be. So
Yeah.
thank you so, so much for being on here and talking to me today. And
Thank you.
thank you. Thank you to all the listeners. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next episode. Thank you, Tina.